there is a property known as dipole moment. Dipole moment. The symbol is mu. Symbol is mu. Dipole moment. The symbol that is mu. This term is mu. Mu, mu. Greek alphabet. Mu. Dipole moment. What is dipole moment? Dipole moment mu is equal to the product between the charge and the distance between the charges. So, charge into distance. Charge into distance. This product is known as the dipole moment mu of the polar covalent bond or polar molecule. Mu, dipole moment mu is equal to the product of the charge and the distance between the two charges. That is called the dipole moment. The unit of dipole moment is dBi. dBi, that is the unit of a dipole moment. Dipole moment is expressed in dBi units. dBi, capital D, dBi unit. Let us say HF, for example. Molecule HF, hydrogen fluoride. HF. We know in hydrogen fluoride, fluorine is more electronegative than hydrogen. As you know, the electronegativity of hydrogen, that is equal to 2.2 electronegativity of hydrogen, while electronegativity of fluorine, that is equal to 4. So fluorine is more electronegative. Fluorine is more electronegative than hydrogen. So the electron pair in the hydrogen fluorine bond is shifted towards fluorine atom. So what will happen? There is creation of partial positive charge on the hydrogen atom and partial negative charge on the fluorine atom. And that is a polar covalent bond. It is the partial ionic character. Remember that this is not composed of pure ions, not composed of H plus and F minus ions. Instead of that, there is covalent character. At the same time, there is partial ionic character also. There is only partial charge. So, you know, delta. Say delta. Delta is, this is delta, small delta. You know, it is a Greek alphabet, the small letter delta. You know these terms. There is triangle, capital delta, and there is a, say, a bend D like this. That is small delta, 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 small d. So delta positive on the hydrogen atom, and that is less electronegative. And delta negative on the fluorine atom, and it is more electronegative. And such a molecule is called, that is called a dipole. A molecule like this, that is called a dipole. Dipole. It is a dipole. So in a dipole, there will be partial positive charge and partial negative charge on the covalent molecule or the covalent bond. It's a dipole. And the dipoles have the property known as dipole moment mu. Mu is equal to charge into distance between the charges. The unit is a dBi unit. Now let us think of hydrogen fluoride again. You know, dipole moment is a vector quantity. This is a vector quantity. That is a vector quantity. what is the significance, the importance or a speciality of a vector? You know, vector has both magnitude and direction. A vector quantity has magnitude. It has both magnitude. There is a magnitude as well as direction. Direction. And such a quantity is a vector quantity. So dipole moment is a vector. It's a vector quantity. And the vectors can be shown like this. You can draw an arrow like this. And there is a cross at the end. This is called the tail and this is called the head. The arrow part, that is called the head, and the cross part, that is called the tail. So you can show the dipole moment vector as it is shown here. This indicates the direction. The direction of the arrow indicates the direction of the dipole moment vector. The direction of the dipole moment vector is indicated by the direction of the arrow. Then the length of the arrow, that is a measure of the magnitude of a dipole moment. Dipole moment is a vector quantity. A vector quantity has both magnitude and direction. So here the dipole moment vector is shown by an arrow like this. The arrow head indicates the direction of the dipole moment vector, and the length of the arrow, that indicates the magnitude of a dipole moment. So it is a vector quantity like this. And if there is a vector quantity, there may be a resultant dipole moment. There is a resultant dipole moment. A molecule, a polar molecule with a resultant dipole moment is called a polar molecule. A molecule with a resultant. Polar molecule means a molecule with a resultant dipole moment. Resultant dipole moment. There should be resultant dipole moment. For example, HF. In HF, there is a resultant dipole moment like this. So HF is a polar molecule. Remember that the charge separation or polarity is not the only condition for polar molecules. The molecule is considered as a polar molecule if and only if there is a resultant dipole moment. We can see some examples. The molecules will be dipoles. There will be dipoles. There will be polar dipole moments. So there will be the polar covalent bonds, and therefore there will be dipole moment also. But there may not be resultant dipole moment. So a molecule which is not having a resultant dipole moment is not considered as a polar molecule. So a molecule is considered as a polar molecule if there is a resultant dipole moment. So charge separation is not the only condition for polar molecules. First of all, there should be charge separation. Secondly, there should be a resultant dipole moment also. So as in the case of HF, there is a resultant dipole moment and there is charge separation and there is a resultant dipole moment, and therefore HF is a polar molecule. Similarly, you take HCl, that is also a polar molecule. So the necessary condition for a polar molecule is this: there should be a resultant dipole moment. Let us take some more examples. For example, you take water molecule, H2O molecule, water molecule. Say water molecule is a bent molecule. It is a bent molecule. It is a non-linear molecule. And you consider the oxygen-hydrogen covalent bond. Oxygen-hydrogen covalent bond. You know, the electronegativity of oxygen, do you remember? It is equal to 3.5. Electronegativity of oxygen is equal to 3.5. While the electronegativity of hydrogen, that is 2.2. Here also 2.2. Now you consider any one of the covalent bonds, any one of the hydrogen oxygen bond. You know, there is difference in the electronegativity values of hydrogen and oxygen. So oxygen is more electronegative, and therefore the electron pair is shifted towards oxygen. Here also the oxygen pair is shifted towards oxygen. So what happens to this? There is a charge separation. Say partial charge separation. Hydrogen, oxygen, hydrogen. Here there is partial positive charge. Here also partial positive charge. And here there will be partial negative charge. Negative charge is on the oxygen atom. Why? Because oxygen atom is more electronegative than hydrogen. And therefore, the electron pair is shifted towards oxygen, creating negative pole on the oxygen atom and positive pole on the hydrogen atom. So there is a partial ionic character for both the bonds. Now, if there is polar covalent bond, there should be dipole moment. You consider, say, this one, that is number 1, and this is number 2 covalent bond. You consider both the covalent bonds. Both the bonds are polar bonds. Both the bonds are polar bonds. There is partial ionic character. And so, both the bonds should have dipole moment. The dipole moment of the first hydrogen oxygen bond, it is, say, directing like this towards oxygen. Now, second one, that is also directing towards oxygen. So there are two dipole moments here. Now, when there are two dipole moments in an angular manner, there will be a resultant dipole moment, and the resultant dipole moment will be in this direction. This is the direction of the resultant dipole moment. So, in water molecule, there is a resultant dipole moment, and therefore, water molecule is a polar molecule. That is a polar molecule, because in water molecule, there is resultant dipole moment. There are two dipole moment vectors. The magnitude of both the dipole moment vectors will be the same, but the two vectors are acting in the angular manner. So what happens? There is a resultant dipole moment, and here I have shown the resultant dipole moment in the upward direction. And since there is a resultant dipole moment in water molecule, water is an example for a polar molecule. Let us take another example, carbon dioxide. You know, the structure of carbon dioxide is like this. This is the structure of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a linear molecule. Carbon dioxide is a linear molecule. You know, the electronegativity of carbon, that is almost 2.5. almost 2.5. While oxygen, as you know, it is 3.5. Here also 3.5. So there is difference in the electronegativity values of oxygen and carbon atoms. So what happens? The electron pairs will be shifted towards the more electronegative atom, that is oxygen. That is oxygen. So here there is partial negative charge. Here also there is partial negative charge. And here there is partial positive charge. Partial positive charge. So there is polarity for both the bonds. If there is polarity, there will be dipole moment. Here, the dipole moment in this bond, it is acting in this direction. And the second bond, the dipole moment vector is acting in the opposite direction. See, the dipole moment vectors, the magnitude of both the dipole moment vectors will be equal. Magnitude will be equal, but the dipole moment vectors are acting in the opposite direction. So what happens? The dipole moments will be mutually cancelled. There is cancellation of the dipole moment. Dipole moment is cancelled because they are equal but opposite. Equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. So the dipole moments will be cancelled. So there is no resultant dipole moment. Here in carbon dioxide, there is no resultant dipole moment. No resultant dipole moment. And therefore carbon dioxide is not a polar molecule. It is a non-polar molecule. It is a non-polar molecule. Although there is charge separation, between carbon and oxygen atoms, the dipole moment vectors are equal, but they are acting in the opposite direction, and therefore the dipole moments will be cancelled. There is no resultant dipole moment, and therefore carbon dioxide is a non-polar molecule. Although there is polarity for the covalent bonds, there is dipole moment, all these things are there. But ultimately what happens? The dipole moments will be cancelled because they are equal but acting in the opposite direction. Since there is no resultant dipole moment, this one, carbon dioxide, is a non-polar molecule, although there is a charge separation. Let us take another example, that is BeF2, beryllium fluoride. Beryllium fluoride is a linear molecule. This is a linear molecule. Line, straight line. From that we have linear. All the atoms are lying in the same line, along the same line. And such a molecule is a linear molecule. Here fluorine, then beryllium and fluorine. All these three atoms are aligned along a straight line. And therefore, beryllium fluoride is a linear molecule. Now let us think of the electronegativity values. See, in this molecule, fluorine is more electronegative. So the electron pair will be shifted towards the fluorine atom. So what happens to the beryllium fluorine bond? There is polarity, partial ionic character. So fluorine, beryllium, fluorine, there is charge separation. Here there is negative charge, partial negative charge, and here there is partial positive charge. Although there is charge separation, what will happen to the resultant dipole moment. See, here you take the first bond here. The dipole moment is acting towards in the direction of fluorine. See, in chemistry, the dipole moment vector is shown in such a way that the head, that is the arrow mark, the head is towards the negative end, and the cross mark, the tail part, the cross mark that is at that is towards the positive terminal. But in physics, say the case is just a different, opposite. They will use only a simple arrow like this to represent a dipole moment vector. Yeah, usually they make use of this one. Not only that, the direction of the vector or the dipole moment will be towards the positive end, and the tail. Tail means this part. This part is tail. The tail is towards the negative part. That is the concept in physics. But in chemistry, we make use of this concept. There is a cross mark at the tail of the arrow, and the arrow head is towards the negative terminal. So, fluorine beryllium bond, the dipole moment can be shown like this. You take the second one, here also the fluorine beryllium bond. There is the dipole moment in the opposite direction. There are two dipole moment vectors, and the magnitude of both the dipole moment vectors will be the same, but they are acting in the opposite direction. Opposite direction, and therefore it is cancelled. Mutually, it is cancelled. So there is no resultant dipole moment. There is no resultant dipole moment. So BeF2 is considered as a non-polar molecule. It is considered as a non-polar molecule, although there is charge separation. Similarly, we can take, say, boron trifluoride, BeF3. Say, the structure of a boron trifluoride is like, it is like this, boron trifluoride. Here, fluorine is more electronegative than boron. So here there is partial negative charge. Negative charge on the fluorine atom, partial negative charge. Here also partial negative charge, and here there will be partial positive charge here on the boron atom. And there will be the polarity for the boron fluorine bond. If there is polarity, there will be dipole moment, and the dipole moment vectors will be acting like this. Here there is one dipole moment. The second dipole moment is acting in this direction, and the third dipole moment is acting in this direction. The magnitude of all the dipole moments will be the same, but the directions will be different. And if you take the resultants of the dipole moments, can see that the resultants will be cancelled, mutually cancelled. So the dipole moments will be cancelled. So there is no resultant dipole moment for boron trifluoride also. So it is also a non-polar molecule, although there is charge separation as well as there is a dipole moment also. There is a dipole moment. For each bond, there will be a dipole moment. But the resultant dipole moment is 0 because all will be cancelled. You take the resultant of these two, resultant of these two, it is acting in this direction. You take the resultant of these two acting in this direction, these two acting in this direction. So what happens ultimately? All the dipole moments will be mutually cancelled, and there is no resultant dipole moment. So the resultant dipole moment is equal to 0, and therefore BF3 is a non-polar molecule, although there is a partial ionic character for the covalent bonds. Let us come to another point, that is valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. It's a new point. Valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. Repulsion, valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. What is it? Let us see. You take the first letters VSEPRT. VSEPRT. Valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. Valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. This theory was introduced to give an explanation for the geometry of the molecules. To give explanation for geometry, the shape of covalent molecules. I have drawn the structure of water molecule as V-shaped molecule, a bent molecule, carbon dioxide, a linear molecule. So, the geometry or the shape of a covalent molecule can be explained in terms of valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, VSEPRT. Here, you consider the electron pairs on the central atom. Electron pairs on the central atom. The central atom. On the central atom, there may be lone pairs of electrons. That means non-bonding electron pairs. There will be lone pairs of electrons. Lone pairs of electrons. LP, lone pair of electrons. Lone pairs means the electron pairs that are not involved in the covalent bond formation. They are non-bonding electron pairs. They are lone pairs of electrons. There will be the bond pairs of electrons also. BP, bond pairs of electrons. So, in a covalent molecule, on the central atom, there will be lone pairs of electrons, non-bonding electron pairs, as well as bond pairs of electrons. Bond pair means the pair of electrons present in the covalent bond. As you know, in a covalent bond, there is a pair of electrons shared by the atoms. So there will be definitely bond pairs will be there. In the covalent molecule, there will be bond pairs of electrons. In some molecules, there will be lone pairs of non-bonding of electron pairs also. Lone pairs of electrons also. Now, according to VSEPRT, the repulsion between lone pair and a lone pair is greater than lone pair and bond pair, greater than bond pair and bond pair. There are two types of electron pairs. Here we have considered two types of electron pairs. One is bond pair of electrons, BP, bond pair of electrons. That means the electron pairs in the covalent bond. Then the lone pairs means non-bonding electron pairs. They are not involved in the bonding. So we can see not always Bond pairs will be there because bonding is there. If bonding is there, there will be bond pairs of electrons also. There is no doubt in that. So bond pairs will be there invariably in all the covalent molecules. But in some covalent molecules, there will be lone pairs of electrons also, non-bonding electron pairs also. Now, according to the VSE PRT, the repulsion between lone pair is greater than lone pair, bond pair, greater than bond pair. Why there is a repulsion? As you know, electrons are negatively charged. Electrons are negatively charged. So naturally there is repulsion between the electron pairs. Electrons are negatively charged. You know, the negative charges. So the like charges will repel each other. Just like the like poles repel each other. Here also the like charges repel each other. So there is a repulsion between the electron pairs because electron pairs are having negative charge. Now the magnitude of the repulsion between the electron pairs, that is given by the valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. The repulsion between lone pair and a lone pair is greater than lone pair and a bond pair, which in turn is greater than bond pair and bond pair. Depending on the different types of repulsive forces, the covalent molecules get a different shapes. They get a different shapes. So the shape or geometry of a covalent molecule can be explained in terms of the electron pairs present in the valence shell of the central atom. Valence shell of the central atom. In the valence shell of the central atom, there may be non-bonding electron pairs or lone pairs of electrons, and there will be bond pairs of electrons also. The repulsion rate is like this. Repulsion between lone pair greater than repulsion between lone pair, bond pair greater than bond pair. And depending on the magnitude of the repulsion between these different types of electron pairs, the covalent molecules attain different geometries or different shapes. Let us take some examples. We take, for example, water molecule. Water molecule. You know the shape of a water molecule, H2O. Water molecule, H2O. Same. There will be two lone pairs of electrons on the oxygen atom. Do you remember that? Oxygen atomic number is equal to 8. So 1s2, 2s2, 2p. Can you complete it? 2p?
4.
Punya, you complete it?
4.
Pardon?
4.
Yeah, it is 4. 2p4. 2p4. So in the 2s level, there are 2 electrons. In the 2p level, there are 3 orbitals and 4 electrons. In the p level, there are 3 orbitals and 4 electrons. First you give 1 electron each. 1 electron each. So let us continue. In oxygen,
So your
atomic number is equal to 8, and the electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. You take the outermost shell, that is the second shell.
So your video is off.
And the 2p.
So we can see what you're doing.
You cannot hear?
Not see. We cannot see.
Okay. So in the 2p level, 2p, I cannot see majority of you. Only 2-3 persons can be seen. Then why should I disclose my face? Okay, so it is recorded here. Okay, so everything will be recorded. There should be a proof for everything. Okay, so the electron pairing takes place only after the available orbitals are singly occupied first. And that is according to which rule? Krishna, when I called out your name, that net was gone. That rule is known as? Meenakshi, can you help him? Meenakshi, in a subshell electron, answer rule of a maximum multiplicity. That's called a Hunt's rule of maximum multiplicity. Okay, let us go back to the structure of oxygen. See, oxygen, atomic number 8 is equal to 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. In the 2s, there is only one orbital and 2 electrons. In the 2p, there are 3 orbitals and 4 electrons. The distribution will be like this. Okay. If this is the condition, the half-filled electrons, the single electrons are in the p level. The single electrons are in the p level. And so, if 2 hydrogen atoms are bonding with the oxygen atom, then what happens? Naturally, we expect the bonding with the p level, p orbitals. Say, oxygen atom, here there are the p orbitals, dumbbell, p orbitals. Here there is one p, there is second p, here there is one electron, here there is one electron, and the hydrogen atom will be, say, overlapping with the oxygen atom this way. Similarly, second hydrogen atom, there is hydrogen. So the overlapping will be like this. So what we expect is like this: oxygen, there is hydrogen, and the bond angle we expect 90 degrees. And there will be 2 non-bonding electron pairs also. The electron pairs on the oxygen atom are non-bonding electron pairs. That is the bond angle. But the actual bond angle is not this. In water, it is only 104.5 degrees. 104.5 degrees. Why is it so? That is because there is a repulsion between the lone pairs, and the lone pairs are coming, say, they are coming closer to the hydrogen atoms, and there is a repulsion between the bond pairs also. So considering the lone pair, bond pair repulsions, the bond angle expands, and it expands to 104.5 degrees. The modern concept says that the bond angle is expected to be 109 degrees 28 minutes. That we can see later. Similarly, in ammonia molecule, the bond angle is 107 degrees, and that is also due to the difference in the lone pair, bond pair repulsions. So we can give the shape of the molecule in terms of the lone pair, bond pair repulsions, and that is according to the valence shell electron pair repulsion theory.